Claudia Nemat.
Thank you, Hannes. A wonderful good morning. It's great to digitally meet you. I hope you are all fine and healthy. For me, it is actually my 4th Capital Market Day, so special greetings to all of you who have joined us throughout the last decade. My summary: we actually delivered our CMD promises from 2018. We successfully implemented our superior production model, meaning we completed our all-IP migration with clear benefits regarding customer experience, cost savings, and resilience. We did a very rigorous IT transformation with significant benefits regarding speed, stability, and cost containment. And we further enhanced our integrated network leadership in Germany and Europe and our perception as the 5G company in the United States with clear business benefits. Going forward, we will evolve from a leading telco to an experience-obsessed tech player. And that means precisely 5 things. Number 1, we are moving to a high degree of network automation, hyperscaler-like regarding speed, but telco-grade regarding security and reliability, on the basis of our increasingly cloud-native infrastructures and, over time, disaggregated networks for lower cost and better experience. Number 2, in addition to the digitization of our networks, we continue to digitalize the entire value chain: sales, service, G&A, for better experience and lower cost. To achieve that, we build on the software and data capabilities of our people. Number 3, our integrated network leadership will continue to deliver clear business benefits. We are committed to 5G leadership in Germany, Europe, and the US, and to fiber in Germany and Europe. Number 4, to support our ambitious climate targets and to offset, by the way, the massive volume increase in our networks, we commit to double energy efficiency in our network production by 2024. And number 5, experience obsession. As Srini said, Kunden zu Fans machen guides our consumer innovation. We focus on products and experiences that leverage our superior networks. Coming to my review. We completed our all-IP migration with clear benefits, precisely. In Germany, the IP migration was the necessary basis for broadband availability at scale. As a result, we have today 10 million households with speeds above 250 Mbps. Those are our top super vectoring lines plus fiber households. In both Germany and Europe, it was the basis for plug and play for all our customers. Today, you take the router, plug it into the wall, and it works. Here you go. It works immediately. As a result, the activation incidence in Germany went down by 40%. And the annual cost savings we achieved in 2020 mount up to 100 million euro. They are, by the way, the result mainly of our ATM platform shutdowns, leading to energy savings. To make that tangible, when we shut down the ATM platform in Germany in Q3 last year, we saved in the subsequent quarter the annual energy consumption of the city of Cologne in just 1 quarter. Last but not least, I would add that without the IP migration, we would not have mastered the COVID crisis so well. Our networks are stable and safe in spite of massive volume increases. For example, plus 300% in video conferences. The IP migration was the digitization project of the previous decade. Now you might ask, what is different? at DT compared to other telcos? Two things. Number one, we did it. We did it. 100%, and that is not the case in UK, Spain, France, or Italy. And number two, in Germany, we did it together with a massive simplification of our aggregation network, the so-called BNG migration, which is the basis for further automation. Second, as I said, we did a super rigorous IT transformation. What is behind that? We actually fundamentally changed the way we work. IT and business. From us to them to joint teams with joint targets. We radically changed the way we develop software. From having only four so-called release containers per year, with very time-consuming linear planning, testing, developing, planning, developing, testing, and zero flexibility, to a highly adaptive process. Today, 70% of all features and workload are delivered outside release containers, and that means we can flexibly adapt to market requirements, and 80% with agile methodologies. Overall, with that, as you can see here, we reduced our time to market from 18 months to 3.5 months. And with that, we overachieved the promise which I gave 3 years ago. The then target was 6 months, not 3.5. So for us, for IT, speed is key. Why? To reduce waste for lower cost and better experience. Now, in addition to that major speed increase, we also, as you can see here, doubled the stability of our systems, while at the same time reduced the IT spend by 200 million euro. How did we do that? We moved away from silos, for example, here development, here operations, to a modern DevOps setup, making sure that operations requirements are being dealt with from the very beginning for less operational incidents and lower cost. We moved away from hierarchies and Taylorisms to skill-based organizations with relevant investments in future-proven capabilities of our people around the world. And finally, we moved away from deeply coupled architectures to decoupling architecture with modern APIs and microservices. We consider this level of change and speed increase industry leading. From my point of view, it is how we do things that differentiates us. And for us, that is the avenue to becoming a modern tech company. The third point of the superior production model was our integrated network leadership. In Germany, we won all relevant tests. Among others, the Mobile Connect test, the 5G chip test, and the 5G Innovation Award. Our mobile and fixed network perception is 23 percentage points better than the one of the next best competitor. With a population coverage of 80% for 5G, I would say we are miles. We are just miles ahead of competition. And by the way, that is not only the result of superior spectrum position. Our super fast rollout is also the result of technology foresight. For example, we were the first operator worldwide to pilot dynamic spectrum sharing required for super fast rollout, and we were among the first operators in the world to commercialize that. In Europe, we are number one in network perception in 8 out of 10 markets. And our network in the Netherlands was even ranked the best mobile network in the world. T-Mobile's perception as the 5G company in the United States has increased by 100% since Q3 2019. And all of that together manifests our belief in superior networks. Superior networks are the key ingredient for our valuable brand, for our commercial strength and upside going forward. In summary, we delivered, as you can see here, with the dominance of the green color. Srini and I ranked the ramp-up of the fiber rollout in Germany with the yellow traffic light. The reason is that we have achieved the planned rollout speed only, or we will achieve the planned rollout speed only in the last quarter of that year, ramping up to the full 2 million fiber households slightly later than expected. Coming to the strategy going forward. As I said, we are a very successful telco, a leading telco. We have a superior production model. We are crisis resilient. We have invested into future-proven capabilities like modern DevOps. But being a leading telco might not be enough. Like being a leading automotive company is no longer enough. In today's software-driven world, that might put you into the role of the one-eyed among the blind. And that is not our ambition. We are redefining ourselves. We are redefining the rules of our industry to become an experience-obsessed tech player, a tech company obsessed with the experience, Kundenzufenz, of our customers. And precisely that means 5 things. We double down our efforts on network automation, cloudification, and disaggregation. We will double down our digitization efforts along the entire value chain, leveraging what we have and the data and software capabilities of our people. Number 4, we will enhance our integrated network leadership, number 3, on the basis of fiber and 5G. We will double our efforts on energy-efficient production, and we will focus on experience innovation, best connectivity experience, seamless interplay at home, and focused innovations beyond the core. And I will now go into point number 1, network automation. Historically, automation was like this. We analyzed the process, took out a few steps, and then coded the result into software. Usually, the speed gains you get amount to 20%, 50%, 100%. Our new software-driven approach for network automation has a far more significant impact on speed. It was applied first for our new voice production platform, Next Generation IMS in Germany, which is, by the way, a multi-vendor platform, open, fully automated, and running out of the cloud. So what? So what is this cloud-based automation has significant impact on speed? That's what I call hyperscaler-like, but telco-grade security-wise. Practically, the introduction of a new product feature takes 3 months compared to 18 months before. You see, I pursue similar ideas in network technology as in IT. We moved from 90 days for rolling out a software feature into the network to only 2 days. And fixing a bug takes no longer 14 days, but only 1 day. And finally, no night shifts are required. In June, 1 million fixed voice customers are live in Germany. By the way, our ambition is to have all voice and mobile customers in Germany and in Europe on just one automation framework, and at least 50% of our data customers on one cloudified platform by 2024. Automated production will contribute to achieving our cost targets. Can I have the video on NIMS, please?
For Deutsche Telekom, technology is all about improving people's lives. To gain speed, we use automation. It helps to reduce errors. The benefit? Less redundant work for us and more focus on customer experience with higher cost effectiveness. With the softwarization of the network, tests for new implementations or maintenance work can be reproduced digitally, also in the cloud. A great example of cloud automation is our voice production. Looking at the classic approach to voice production in the telco industry, there is lots of room for improvement. High degree of vendor dependency, coupled with silo building. With NIMS, we successfully rebuilt the voice production using software in our cloud. This gives us a better lever for automation. With NIMS, we are pioneers, making our 3210 vision a reality. 3 months for each product development. 2 days to pilot new software end-to-end across the network. 1 day to validate functional enhancements. 0 night shifts to deploy new software and functions on the live network. We have already achieved a significant milestone. 1 million customers have been migrated so far. By the end of 2021, the entire fixed network will be cloudified with NIMS. 100% automation in the chain, from development to validation to production. To achieve our ambitious goals, we work in agile teams, larger squads, and and upskill our employees. We are also scaling these new automation capabilities for other services, such as 5G. We shape our digital future together.
So here's another example, automated fiber planning. Historically, fiber planning included many manual processes and most maps existed only in analog or in scanned formats, plus super complex interactions with municipalities. And as a result, planning a typical fiber area took on average 25 days. At the last Capital Market Day, I showed you our demo for what was back then a pilot for a new, fully automated fiber planning system. We actually digitized the maps and the applications for the municipalities, and we use streetcars, like you see here, driving around and taking 360-degree pictures of surfaces and obstacles. And then these pictures are analyzed in a point cloud by algorithms and deliver a passive fiber planning. And on that basis, the planning time of the same average area got reduced from 25 to 5 days. Today, the system is deployed in 75% of all new areas. So it's up and running and ready for scaling. Needless to say that it is one out of many contributors to reducing our fiber unit cost by 25% until 2024. And for sure, it's one of the necessary conditions for doing the fiber rollout so fast. Okay, now let's go to another aspect, network disaggregation. Historically, we have acquired large systems. In the future, the systems will be smaller, and soft and hardware gets decoupled, making hardware much cheaper because we can use standard hardware. One well-known example is O-RAN, Open Radio Access Networks, what you can see here. In our today's single radio access network, the radio unit on top of the antenna pole and the baseband unit down in the gray box all need to come from the same vendors. The stuff within the BBU comes from the same vendor, 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G, and all antennas in one area. The advantage, high spectrum efficiency and high performance. The disadvantage, limited choice and higher TCO. That topic is being addressed in O-RAN. Now, all these components I mentioned can come from different vendors. On top, we deploy software on a standard hardware rack. This then can look like that. That's an O-RAN baseband unit. You see standard hardware racks and software deployed on that. The advantage, more choice, lower TCO. The challenge for the industry, end-to-end integration and automation. And I will now explain you back on stage how we are addressing that. So, as I said, end-to-end integration and automation. So, Deutsche Telekom was actually the first operator in Europe to set up an open test and integration lab in Berlin to test and operate exactly that, end-to-end testing and integration. The lab is, by the way, open for all suppliers and our competitors. And in addition, in the second half of this year, we intend to start O-RAN Town around Neubrandenburg, which will deploy O-RAN technology to actually test it in our productive network. But disaggregation does not only happen in the mobile access, also in fixed. We call that 4.0, access 4.0. Based on the aggregation network simplification we did together with the IP transformation in Germany, that the simplification of the aggregation network was the result of the way we did the IP transformation in Germany, which is, by the way, another differentiator. And based on that, we created a fully disaggregated edge cloud simplified fixed broadband access. As a pilot, it is live. By the way, the world's first fixed disaggregated access line. And the next step, of course, is work with the industry ecosystem to adopt those principles. In a nutshell, we are prepared. We have the capabilities in place to get it done as soon as the technology and the ecosystem matures. What I assume with regard to O-RAN in the next 2 to 5 years to happen. But we are not only digitizing the network, but the entire value chain. And that chart shows 2 examples. One is our easy fiber ordering and configuring and provisioning system for our customers. With the previous legacy IT, it took 7 super cumbersome interactions for the customers to order fiber connection. Now, only 2 very intuitive and easy ones are required. That system is cloud-based for all channels. And next year, the complete fiber rollout will be processed throughout this platform, which is another contributor for the speedy fiber rollout Srini mentioned. The other example here on the chart is our award-winning bot, Frag Magenta, a digital assistant that supports our services organization through automation. By now, more than 2 million issues were solved, and its independent solution rate without human help is 37%. Srini pointed it out in his speech. Our belief is to combine human service with digitalization. AI-enabled, advanced, augmented. And our ambition is to have all service interactions augmented by AI or algorithms by 2025. And again, as I explained before, this is based on our industry-leading IT in terms of speed, flexibility, and stability. And now our ambition is to move one step further and create a world-class IT. And that means that we will move to a very high degree of truly cloud-native infrastructure, 80% in IT and 55% for NT across Germany and Europe. Plus, we will massively increase APIs and microservices, which means further decoupling the architecture. And we will, of course, retire. And if you express that in KPIs, we will further decrease time to market down to 2 months with 100% agile working. Stability will further increase, and the IT spend will go down by at least another 200 million euro, which is a most significant contributor to the message Srini gave: fiber rollout, self-funded. And why can we do that? Because we are driving a capability and cultural transformation. And let me explain how we work. Traditional corporate thinking oscillates between centralization bias to capture synergy and decentralization bias to realize speed. I'm a fan of speed and experience focus. In other words, decentral accountabilities. On the other hand, for those of you who got educated in the software rather in the telco industry, it's totally clear that you need economies of skill and scale when you want to get done the stuff I mentioned, like the scaling automation platforms. There's really no way to reinvent the wheel for that in every country and every location if you want to get it done. And our solution is a modern chapter tribe organization which actually combines the best of both worlds. All IT, NT, and product people work totally decentral with the businesses. For example, on the automated fiber planning or on the gigabit delivery system or on the 5G rollout. At the same time, every human being here in technology and innovation is part of a global skill chapter. For example, for software engineers, network engineers, data scientists, or AI specialists. And the purpose of those chapters is to really make sure that everyone has her or his individual skill journey, and at the same time to make sure that we have the right number of people with the right number of capabilities in place from a global perspective, because that goes across Europe, Germany, Russia, and India. Today, we have, by the way, in my board area, 2,800 people with skills like software engineering, DevOps, data scientists, or modern architecture skills. That's 23%. And as you can see here on that slide, that number will go up at least to 45% by 2024. Coming to the point number 3. We will remain network experience leader. Now, Srini and Dominic talked about our ambition for 5G and for fiber, and Mike and Neville about T-Mobile US, so I will not repeat that. I just want to say, to bridge the link to Tim's presentation, that in addition to our ambition of being the 5G and fiber-enabled technology experience and product innovation leader, we will also make sure, always, that we use our toolbox of best access technology combinations, our own as well as third parties. And that will include 4G, 5G hybrid routers or indoor repeaters, but it could also include broadband satellite connection for global IoT. So, coming back to 5G. A couple of years ago, and you know that, the tech industry hyped 5G as the solution to everything, including world hunger. And then, a few years later, the finance and analyst community challenged 5G as a driver for growth. Now, my conviction is, we are convinced by 5G. We are convinced by the comprehensive benefits of 5G. And I have summarized them on this slide. First of all, following up on what Dominic and Srini said, 5G is the basis for up and cross-selling in the consumer area. Number 2, 5G is a key enabler for B2B differentiation and upside potential. By the way, together with IoT, edge, cloud, and network slicing, the latter being made available through end-to-end orchestration 5G standalone. But network slices could deliver the latency slides for those who want to operate drones over their campus networks, or IoT slides if you have massive sensors. Another advantage is 5G has a higher CapEx efficiency than 4G only. We assume that the CapEx per top speed will go down by 40% by 2024 per Mbps. Another aspect, the 3G shutdown, together with 5G, is one contributor to our energy efficiency. And last but not least, there's the topic of fixed wireless access, mainly relevant in the United States and Europe. And I would say, let's listen to our customers.
Deutsche Telekom 5G campus networks, private, secure, and powerful. While the market is evolving, customer demand is growing. We continuously sign and deploy new contracts. Campus campus networks are a key enabler for digitization because of high availability, security, low latency, and their advantages for IoT. They are the basis for full industrial automation, for shorter production cycles and lower cost. They are the basis for all types of aerial autonomous systems, like drones or autonomous guided vehicles. One additional advantage, the managed data can stay on campus. One of our first campus networks was for Osram and started with autonomous guided vehicles.
Das Campusnetzwerk, das eröffnet uns eine neue Dimension in der Digitalisierung.
Wir arbeiten an der digital vernetzten Fabrik und das gelingt uns mit dem Campusnetz.
The largest campus network we signed so far is for the Hanover Fair. It emphasizes our ambition to shape Industry 4.0.
Unser Messegelände wird damit zur größten privaten, urbanen und in sich geschlossenen 5G-Testarena.
And the HHLA Sky Campus Network demonstrates the need for high availability.
Wir bei HHLA Sky haben einen integrierten Leitstand zur Steuerung von Drohnen, Robotern und IoT-Devices entwickelt. Ein 5G-Campus-Netzwerk mit hoher Verfügbarkeit, garantierter Bandbreite und geringer Latenz ist von höchstem Interesse für HHLA Sky.
Campus networks are not only relevant in the industrial sector, but also in other sectors, for example in medical. Our pioneering cooperation with Bonn University Hospital demonstrates this distinct value. For example, to make CT or MRT pictures available anytime on any mobile device on a large medical campus in a secure way.
Wir haben den dritthöchsten sogenannten Case-Mix-Index. Das bedeutet, dass sehr viele Patientinnen und Patienten, die zu uns kommen, eine interdisziplinäre Behandlung brauchen. Und das generiert dann ganz viele Informationen. Und diese großen Daten zusammenzubringen, geht mit gar keiner anderen Technologie als mit dieser 5G-Technologie.
Deutsche Telekom 5G Campus Networks. We create value for our various customers. We shape our digital future together.
Okay, coming to the next topic, green. What is pretty obvious? Our society's path to carbon neutrality and waste reduction will be entirely impossible without digital technologies. And Deutsche Telekom is an important enabler. The COVID crisis showed video conferences reduce travel significantly, and individual transportation is a super major contributor to CO2 emissions. Digital technologies enable a more diligent usage of natural resources in agriculture. Digital technologies are necessary to detect and reduce waste and CO2 footprints in logistical chains, and they are the basis for smart electricity grids and for smart homes. So super. Nevertheless, as an industry, we need to look at our own emissions as well. And as Tim pointed out yesterday, we commit to be carbon neutral regarding our own emissions, scope 1 and 2, by 2025. Already this year, we will use around the entire globe, Mike mentioned that as well, electricity from only renewable sources. For your info, electricity counts for around 85% of our emissions, meaning in our own emissions we have moved a big step ahead. We also commit to be CO2 neutral in scope 3, so for our supply chain, latest by 2040. But, and for me that is very important, we have started to put major emphasis on this, carbon footprint, energy efficiency and waste avoidance in all our RFPs with our vendors. Our challenge, electricity, including green electricity, by the way, is of course also a cost factor. And the data volume grows for all of us. We assume by at least 25% per annum. And to offset this volume increase, so to keep our energy consumption stable, we will double our energy efficiency by 2024. Energy efficiency being defined as the ratio between the gigabits you produce and the watt hours needed to produce them. What are the key levers to do that? One big lever, retirement. I talked about ATM, SDH will come next, or Srini mentioned 3G. And other levers are things like network site sharing, or again, using algorithms and AI to do, for instance, a smarter steering with the antennas with the scheduler. Another point are more efficient data centers, and of course, the copper to fiber migration. So that is our plan, doubling down on energy efficiency to keep the consumption stable, to move credibly along the green path. My last point is about the consumer experiences. Kunden zu Fans machen. Delightful home experiences are of course built on our best networks, and we focus on 3 experiences. Of course, the best connectivity experience anywhere, a seamless interplay of all our products, Magenta TV, Magenta Smart Home, Magenta Gaming, the apps for the Telekom routers or Hello Magenta. And in a very focused manner, we innovate beyond the core, for example, our Magenta Gaming offering on the cloud gaming platform. For better experience, we focus on 3 enablers: voicification, again, big data and AI, and service orchestration. So that's the summary, and let me explain what is behind that on that chart. First experience, best connectivity. Our customers expect that they have a stable and fast connection anywhere in their home or in the office, like at the curb. The reality is often different, a typical problem of the telco industry. In spite of having a super fiber or super vectoring line, connection might have issues. Why? Because the customer uses the wrong router for her or his access line. He or she might have put the router at the wrong place. I visited many homes, and you wouldn't wonder very often I found it behind the fish tank or the bookshelf. Sometimes the cabling in the house is outdated, as is the access point, and also we have the phenomenon that the interferences of the neighboring Wi-Fis disturb. Obviously, there are some non-technical solutions to that challenge, which is that our sales and service people convinced our customers to take the right routers in the first place. Now, other, more automated solutions require a different technology. More precisely, a new router operating logic. What does it do? Again, it decouples software and hardware. So you see that's also my pet topic here. And it does real-time analysis of the connectivity data, again, based on algorithms and SI. And then, as a result, you can support the customer with automated self-installment, a mesh Wi-Fi placement tool, or, and that's what we're currently doing in Croatia, the router chooses automatically the best channel, and it also supports predictive maintenance for our service. Today, we have in Europe 1 million customers who got this new router operating system. And our ambition is to enable 75% of the entire Deutsche Telekom router base in Germany and in Europe with that new logic, first or second generation, until 2024. Next topic, experience the seamless interplay. Our customers expect super simple and intuitive onboarding, upgrading, and operating of any new devices. My personal benchmark is the Apple experience. From one Maul aus einem Guss, really seamless. Now, to get that done, we've built a new API-first orchestration layer that acts as glue between the different services and devices. And with that, you can, for example, on your TV screen, show the QR code of your home Wi-Fi to the kids of your friends of your children, or you can get my mother called notification on the screen or on the TV screen that someone is ringing at the door. So, Our ambition is, by the way, it's being rolled out this year with already today 200,000 engaged customers on our smart home offering. And our ambition is to have 90% of our customer base across Germany and Europe enabled with that. And last but not least, our voicification platform. The idea is not to compete against OTTs, but the objective is to voicify all our services. And our ambition is, by 2024, to have all DT services voice-enabled. But let us have a look at the homes of our customers.
The future of Deutsche Telekom's home experience will be seamless and simple. Safe, privacy-respecting, personalized, truly human-centered. Our ambition? Become the experience leader in the connected home. The foundation is laid today with the next generation of routers designed by us and a new platform allowing seamless interplay of our services. Turning on safe kids settings when no adults are in the house. Setting call notifications on the TV screen when we watch a movie. Or arrange co-watching of sports or gaming events with distant friends or family members. It's made possible by a powerful set of enabling technologies like real-time data analytics, AI, and an API-first orchestration layer for seamless interplay between the various services. All, by the way, enabled by our voicification platform. We'll collect and analyze data from various sources, protecting the privacy of our customers for the best personalized and safe experience. We can't wait to make it all happen. We shape our human-centered digital future.
To sum it up, here you can see our midterm ambition level. It's a commitment to fiber rollout in Germany and Europe, a commitment to enhancing 5G leadership, a commitment to enhancing customer experience and innovation leadership. On value transformations, our commitment on cloudification, super fast time to market, share of agile 100%, IT spend reduction by at least 200 million, and as I said, keep the energy consumption stable. Now, Hannes, before I come to you, allow me one final remark. I believe what really differentiates us is the way how we do things and why. And I want to share with you my why. I have this ambition to transform us, as I said before, into an experience-obsessed tech player, which means a tech more than a telco company. And it means being truly human-centric. Kunden zu Fans machen, investing into digital capabilities of our people, turn shareholders to fans and increase shareholder value. And by the way, not to forget, have trusted relationships with our technology partners. Within this fragile world of impacted global supply chains is also a real differentiator. And last but not least, for me, it means also to be responsible digitally and socially. I call that human-centered technology. And for me personally, it's the reason why I love to be here in this management team, get up every morning and try to make it even better for all the stakeholders, all the human beings out there.
Lovely. It's a great vision, and it's not just a vision. I mean, it's becoming very tangible for our customers with the help of the great teams that we've got together. So we've got time for, I think, about 4 people, 15 minutes. Start with Usman. Usman from Bernberg. Good to see you again.
Hey, thank you very much. I've just got one clarification and then 2 questions, please. The clarification I was seeking was in the final slide. You show, the percentage of cloudified production. I mean, is this showing the data, the amount of data that you're looking to put on cloud networks? And if so, I mean, are these public or private cloud that you're referring to? So that was the first question. The second question was just on the statistic that you gave in one of the other presentations on the 40% reduction in the cost per peak throughput. And I'm just wondering that seems a bit conservative, given you have 5 times more spectrum in 5G with you have 4 times more spectral efficiency with massive MIMO. So I mean, other operators have spoken more like a 90% cost per bit kind of reduction going into 5G. So your comments there would be interesting. And then my final question was just on becoming more of a software company as opposed to focusing on connectivity. Could you share with us perhaps how, what proportion of your network functions have been virtualized today, where you expect that to get to, and on software developers, are you seeing that this is an issue when it comes to hiring this kind of talent when there's already a lot of competition for it? Thank you.
Okay, so I start with question 1. It is indeed our workload, 80% of our workload in IT internationally and 55% in the network workload. And it is a combination of public cloud and also private cloud, and especially in the IT arena, we are working intensively. We're collaborating with the hyperscalers on that one. So, second question. Okay, good. So what I said is by 2024 to produce a gigabit per second, yeah? So for top speed, it's a relative number, we will have that efficiency. And by the way, this has a number of contributors. As you are referring to massive MIMO versus the normal antennas, to just give you a flavor, if you look just at the 32 times 32 massive MIMO antenna deployed on 3.6 gigahertz compared to 2 times 2 4G, 5G traditional antenna, you will find that the power used is twice as high. But when you look at that antenna in relative terms, it is round about 20%. But as I said, it is one contributor. It's not only about this active element. This is actually, I think, how you need to read it. So the last question was?
I would say it's also the 5 times spectral efficiency.
Yes,
seems like a big
absolutely,
number.
Yes,
Yeah.
you could add that. Let me see. The last question was around the cloudification. Yeah, the voice and data platform, which I mentioned, we intend to actually use that automation framework and the cloudified platform for all our customers until 2024. Today it's 1 million customers. But the biggest, as you know, cost item is in the access network, fixed access network, and mobile access network. And here, as I also mentioned before, technology is not yet mature. We expect it to mature in the next 2 to 5 years. And then, if you wish, so the access part of the network will be cloudified as well. Yeah? So the cloudification happens together with the disaggregation and the further automation. Yeah, you had another question on, is it difficult to get people? Yes and no. You see, I'm actually extremely proud of having a few super geeks from across the world. So obviously we are very attractive to get talent, whether it's from South Korea, from Africa, also from the United States. So I'm super proud actually of my very international team and of people who are real geeks. Having said that, I also strongly believe when you look at the mass of people, that in addition to hiring, we need to invest for social and financial reasons also in the capability building of our both network and software engineers. So we pursue an approach where we combine that.
Very good. So next question then, thank you, Usman, is from Ulrich at Jefferies. Hi, Ulrich.
Yeah, thanks very much. I have 3 short questions, if I may. First one is, I'm interested in the comparison of how you see DT positioned within the industry. Where is DT ahead? Where is it behind? I suppose your choice of topics probably tells us where you think DT is ahead. So the question really is, where might you be behind, or where's the opportunity relative to your peers? The second question is on O-RAN. You mentioned that. and I suppose it's a difficult question to answer simply, but how far is O-RAN from mass deployment at DT? How many years? And my last question is a bit philosophical, but I mean, with every, I mean, much of the efficiency gains in your area come from taking out complexity, which has been layered on in past technology cycles, I suppose. That seems to be a bit of a hamster wheel. Is there any reason to expect that this hamster wheel slows down with the current technology cycle, so that in 5 years' time we're not going to talk about, you know, delayering whatever has been added on in 2021, if you see what I mean? Thank you.
Okay, so I start with where we are ahead and where do I see upside potential. I hope I made clear that when it comes to our 5G positioning in Germany and Europe, and you heard yesterday the US team, and honestly, I see competition miles behind us. And I can assure you one thing, we will make sure that this remains like that. In any dimension. If you talk about scope, if you talk about fiber backhauling, if you talk about the top speeds, the number one. And by the way, also in our ambition to be integrated network leadership, and you see it from the customer feedback and the results, so in the network. Also, I would say, and I mentioned that in my talk, we have really an advantage, Srini called it tailwind, for having completed the IP migration. Because without having done that, you run into intrinsic complexity. For example, the next level of automation and disaggregation, which I mentioned for the fixed line network, when you want to virtualize that and use different vendors with lower hardware cost, requires a level of simplification. And we really did it 100%, and we did it together with that access disaggregation. Yeah? And also, based on some of the topics which I mentioned, the leverage of AI in fiber planning and the that very radical approach to automation on our platform, I think enables us in the future to capture the potential. Because I would view it, if I were you, like this: we have proven this, and now we are scaling. And because our ability to scale, we are able to execute, for example, on what Srini said, fiber upscale self-funded. Yeah? So that is the scaling opportunity. On IT, to be honest, I think we are really industry leading when it comes to radicality of transformation, capability, stability, and speed. We are not world class when it comes to cost. We are actually in the third quartile, yeah, so in the upper third quartile, and that is also an upside potential which I laid out here in the presentation. Yeah, and on the digitization front end, Srini and Dominic talked about it. I think we are also in a very good way with our bot farm, with the Magenta bot and the One app. Yeah, so I see us honestly ahead in multiple dimensions, but because we have proven it with exactly that upside potential to get it done. A totally different level of automation. Now, O-RAN. I think O-RAN, the question is, when is it mature for a leading operator like us and some others? And my time estimation is in the next 2 to 5 years. But what I also want to say here, it will be a relevant component in the next request for proposal when it comes to the network modernization in Germany. So, and the last question, complexity, hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether this is just another installment of a regular cycle, or whether we are talking about something that is a structural change that will, let's say, last for, give us more stability.
Honestly, I believe once you went through the decoupling and the microservices, APIs, and this high degree of cloudification, which forces you to automate, yeah, you have actually achieved a very strong level of simplification, and then you can decide, yeah, on what areas you put your additional investments. So I see it more evolutionary, but maybe more than just the historic automation projects, where you always take out the next complexity and off you go.
Good. Okay, so next we have, thank you, Ulrich, and next we have James at New Street. Hi, James.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Hannes, and good morning, Claudia, and thank you for taking the question. So I'd two questions, please, Claudia. The first one was going back to the slide where you talked about the comprehensive benefits from 5G. And in particular, I'm really interested in the point you made around higher CapEx efficiency. Be interested to kind of just dig into that a little bit more. What are your plans within Deutsche Telekom for further densification of your macro cell grid? I mean, do you think that's actually needed at all, given some of the efficiencies that come through with 5G? I heard Srini yesterday talking a little bit about small cell build plans in Germany as well. So maybe you could kind of layer thoughts around that into the answer too, please. And then the second question I had just was very interested in the developments in the private campus network space and B2B. Could you talk a little bit about how you actually see the competitive environment there? How does Deutsche Telekom have an advantage there? Do you see competition in particular from non-MNO players who can maybe use shared 5G spectrum to compete in that area? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the question. I come to the first one on the macro and small cells. So 5G per se does not require network densification. Now, the volume increase in some areas potentially yes. So we assume that 5G deployment will kick in around 2023, 2024, and it will really depend on the deployment of our macro networks. The German team, for example, assumes to have a few thousand small cells in addition to the macro cells in place by 2024. Then the next question was around the campus network. No? Campus network, private versus public. What we actually see with our customers, different horses for different courses. There's a number of customers who want to have a combination of public and private or only public. For example, what you saw in the video, this big campus network at the university hospital was actually based on a public network. And why is that? Because the customers want to also have mobility use cases which move beyond the boundaries of the campus networks. Yeah? And so therefore we see a need for public campus network solutions or combined ones. Now in Germany, as you see, we have the very specific situation that private spectrum was granted, but what we see that 60% of those who asked for that private spectrum are basically universities or research institutions or certain manufacturers. For the other 40% who applied for these frequencies, I assume a combination of Deutsche Telekom together with vendors will do it. Now your question was also how are we positioned against others? The feedback we get actually very well, in particular when you think about that combination of campus, IoT connectivity and edge cloud. I also need to say that I believe as of today, the market is still in an early stage, yeah, and will probably take up the moment the full benefits of network slicing come live.
Great. Just also maybe to add on the first question, we had a lot of densification, network densification in the last few years. You know, we extended our site footprint, or will have extended by the end of this year by about 6,000 sites in Germany. A lot of that was actually densification. So we have a very strong grid right now. Next, thanks, James. See you soon. Next is from Robert at Deutsche Bank.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I would like to follow up on Open RAN with Claudia, if I may. Some people think that the complexity of multiple interfaces from multiple vendors within an O-RAN environment will leave you as dependent on a few specialist aggregators in the same way you are dependent on a few mobile equipment vendors today. Do you think that's a risk for Deutsche Telekom, or is it an advantage perhaps where you guys can manage the complexity yourselves, whereas smaller players may struggle? And a quick aside is, can Open RAN be as green as conventional technology, or do you think there's a trade-off there? Thanks.
So, Robert, great question. So, first of all, I think it's going to be very difficult for smaller telcos. I think it's an advantage for us. Having said that, I view the world not evolving to best of breed and then being dependent on just one integrator, but rather best of suite. I expect certain ecosystems to evolve on certain pre-configurations. I believe also, if you want to capture the full TCO benefit, you, as a telco, you will not go into software development, so don't be scared. Yeah, we are not going to develop virtualized network functions, but you need to have certain network integration capabilities in place. And I think I showed on one of my slides we have that based on the work we did with Access 4.0 and ORAN. So I believe actually it is an advantage, yeah. But in the end, it will not be a case where totally disconnected components get acquired, and then all the TCO gainings you have, you waste by spending all the money for an integrator. It must be. So our view is, yes, yeah. So there is, when you really get the end-to-end automation done. And honestly, from a technical perspective, I don't see any reason why not to do it. Yeah? What prevents progress from happening is, of course, the ability to capture value in the old expensive hardware systems. Yeah? So I don't see any technical reason with the end-to-end automation why ORAN shouldn't be as green as single RAN. You're right. Today, it's not yet, and this is why I said we still need to solve some of these technical challenges.
Excellent, and thank you, Robert. And the last question then is for this round is from Andrew at Goldman Sachs.
Yeah, hi, thanks. Thanks very much for the presentation. I thought it was really helpful in terms of understanding new technologies and your progress. What I'm still struggling a little bit with is just how your mobile network will stack up versus your peers by 2024. It's really hard to kind of get a real sense on specifics in terms of how you're going to look. So we've heard from O2 that they're going to get to around 35,000 towers by the mid-2020s with similar spectrum per customer to you. Vodafone, we know, is going to have around 35,000 towers, but with more spectrum per customer to you. I'm not really sure on where the fibre backhaul differences are between you all. So the question really is, where will you end up on number of towers in your 2024 plan? Will you need more additional spectrum versus your peers? And ultimately, will you increase or see a reduction in your network superiority versus peers?
So we will continue to have a superior network towards our peers. And I need to say, and I am realizing you want to also say something, in the end, it's a combination. It's a combination of the spectrum position which you have at any time. It is a question of coverage. It's a question of where you have the towers. It is also the question, not to be underestimated, on certain technological insight. And the moment you test it, you are not talking about it widespread. Yeah, because our dynamic spectrum sharing thing was really a coup, I would say, when we rolled it out. And there is a question around the 3.x massive MIMOs in the cities. Yeah, and don't underestimate, we will always observe our peers. By the way, I forget the fiber backhauling, our intensive fiber backhauling. So we will always observe our peers and then, if necessary, work on an adaptation of the parameters.
I think, you could have asked the same question a few years ago, or even longer. The spectrum, was looked, if one of our competitors even had a lot more spectrum than us. And now we have a very competitive spectrum position, best backhaul composition. We'll have more than the numbers that you have quoted because they include the white spots by that time. True. And that's a shared, that we'll have those too. And we have a build-out rate that is way higher than anyone else. We've always been the best on coverage. And, don't worry about it. Okay, yeah. So that's a great way of...
You wouldn't worry at all, please. Don't worry, yeah? So whatever happens, we will be a step ahead.
Stop worrying. Thank you.
Excellent. So thank you very much. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Andrew. And that brings us to the close of this session. And now I'm happy to welcome Adele